And what sort of internships would you recommend for high school children who are looking to pursue a career in computer science?
I think at this point, I would say anything that you can, since everything is so accessible today, I would urge them to try anything that they can find. First of all, an opportunity to work in a real field, it would be good. If not, even building your own apps, when you're having a summer break, because so many of these courses are on YouTube, and building an app for your phone, most everyone has an Android or an iPhone. It's very simple and not at all expensive to be able to build one. So I would encourage anybody that is in high school today to explore building some of these things on their own. And if they get an opportunity, work in anything. In fact, frankly, it matters less what exactly you'll end up doing in high school. It matters more the exposure and the environment in which you're working, which starts to guide your thinking. You'll meet people, you'll work in a professional environment, no matter which company or opportunity that you get. And you will at least be exposed to some practical problems with a goal. You would likely have a goal that you're trying to pursue during your summer. So I think that's very important. In fact, one of the opportunities that I got when I was in my engineering, which was later in high school, was Indian telephone industry, which is called ITI. They had a CAD section in their factory, and I landed up interning there in my third year, between my third year and fourth final year in engineering. And it was just a great exposure to be amidst people who are working in technology, and they were actually working in chip design at that time, which I knew very, very little about. In fact, nothing about it. And my little project was to build some geometric shapes in a plotter. Very exciting. Honestly, I'd never been in such a high-tech environment at that time for me. And so it is those kind of exposure that drive your thinking. And I think it's very important to be able to get whatever exposure that you can, be out there.
Yeah, I fully agree. And a lot of children these days, due to the mass amounts of tablets and phones and laptops and things like that being produced, they're consuming a lot of media, like a crazy amount of media. And yet most of them still don't ever get into the business. So how do you say, so how would you say that your career, how do you say your computer science helped build your career in new media?
Um, it, Again, I think, first of all, when you go to college or when you're learning, it's important that you're learning a particular field, but you're also doing another thing, which is you're learning to learn, right? I mean, the whole college experience for a lot of us will be learning to learn. And it's important because, in today's world, in fact, it has been true for a lot of professions for a very long time, but it's more important now that you're a learner, a lifelong learner. And that is an extremely important trait that you build during your early days, whether you're in high school, whether you're in college, you will build that, right? Because what you learn in the way technology is outpacing what I knew 20 years ago. As I told you, even forget 20 years ago, when we first built Rhapsody for a music subscription service, there were no mobile phones. Mobile phones suddenly changed everything. And in fact, Rhapsody is no longer something that anybody knows. In fact, you might know it if you're older like me, but if you're a younger kid, you never knew what Rhapsody was. And it doesn't even matter. So to me, if you are trying to build something for today's mobile phone or tomorrow's AR glasses, you may probably have never learned it in college before, or what you may have learned in college, let's say in the upcoming years, may no longer be relevant in 15, 20 years. So to me, it's extremely important that you learn to learn. And what that gives you is a foundation from which you can start to understand how any of the newer technologies work. And of course, you have to spend a lot of time learning about it as well. So when I look at augmented reality, I didn't learn AR in my classes in college when I went to engineering. The only reason I understand that is because you're involved in that field. You are talking to many different people who are building different things in that field. You're working with some of the scientists who are thinking about what it's called direct retinal projection, right? They're actually trying to use lasers to, when you're wearing a glass, to actually project a certain image into your retina so that you don't really have to wear glasses with reflective lenses. When you're walking outside, if you're trying to use a display technology, it has to work towards, how does it work when it's very sunny outside? We usually close the curtains and other things to watch. So all of these things like direct retinal projection, when I first wore one of those laser type glasses, to understand that deep technically, I might never do that. I have other people that are actually experts in that I can talk to. But I need to know enough about it to be making informed decision based on my experience. So what you're learning is today is important to build a foundation. What you need to do is to always, if you're interested in it, continue to seek more knowledge and be able to learn every single day of your life, at least some portion of it, so
Yeah.
that you keep up with what's going on.
Yeah. Do you recommend that for a fresh CS grad, a career start should be at like a large tech company, for example, Google, or at a
Mhm.
startup?
I think so. The reason I say that is because you need to really be experienced in what the current technology is, how people build it, know the people. That is extremely important. You're building networks early in your career. It's about being in a structured environment like a large company gives you exposure to the scale of problems and the process in which companies are organized and solving them. And it's a good learning for anybody who is graduating. It's not to say that you shouldn't start a company of your own or go right into building a startup. I think a lot of people are skilled to do it, but in many ways you really want to start with a solid foundation of how things are done by companies that are in the cutting edge of technology. It doesn't matter whether they're Facebook, Google, or Airbnb or any of those companies. It is important that you one understand that process to build the network. It is very likely that some of the people that you're going to work with when you start working in one of these companies are going to be leaders in different companies or different fields 5, 10 years from now. So having that network of colleagues and friends that you have built in the early years will definitely be very, very useful as you progress through your career.
Yeah. That reminds me of a time I had an internship at this animation company. Even I got to learn about, the different stages involved in making the
Yeah.
final animated movie. Like there's the modeling, then there's the textures, and then the actual skeleton of the animated character, and then finally the animation. So it is actually very useful to intern in those kind of companies because you get to realize the process behind the entire
Yeah.
output or the outcome. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to be the one starting to learn everything from scratch. I mean, if
Yeah.
you were to go into one of these companies as you went to the animation company, you at least have now a running start, if you will, in understanding if you wanted to go build your own animation studio, what you would want to do, right?